welcome to the Lausitzring. The second race of the race weekend is about to begin, and we're absolutely thrilled because yesterday we saw amazing race action, and of course also we had the heavy impact accident with Rene Rast, but he is doing well, but he won't be starting in the race today. But we've got the pole setter here, and Philipp Eng, you're a rookie and you did a phenomenal job in the qualifying, starting in pole. So how does it feel, and do you have a good feeling for the race to hopefully aim for victory?
Yeah, that's a great goal, of course. I was touching it yesterday. I was leading the race for a couple of laps, but then I eventually got overtaken. I hope this is not the case today. I could get used to this side because nobody in front is always great. But we just did the first step, and now it's about to get the result in the race.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. Thank you very much, Philipp. And now to the commentator.
So Philipp Eng then did all the hard work in qualifying and has indeed put that rookie BMW pole position for only the third race of DTM for 2018. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Lausitzring for day two of this DTM race weekend, and race two is about to get underway, 55 minutes plus one lap. Philipp Eng P1, and alongside is Pascal Wehrlein, who will be going from P2 on the grid ahead of Gary Paffett, who is P3. So there was lots of drama in the race yesterday, and as we have just heard, thankfully Rene Rast is perfectly okay, though he will not be starting the race today. Didn't take part in qualifying, clearly, with the car sustaining very significant damage. That car was not repaired overnight. However, the Jamie Green and Nico Müller car, which collided right at the start of the race, did get repaired. This is Loic Duval then. His qualifying time of 1:38.884. And Loic Duval goes from P17 on the grid with his Audi RS5 DTM. And Jamie Green then, who was one of those involved in the dramas yesterday, colliding with Nico Müller, meant that he was not able to even do one completed lap. But pleasingly, Rene Rast is perfectly okay.
And now I'm here with Rene Rast. Obviously, we all still have the pictures in our heads from your heavy impact accident yesterday. And again, the question I have to ask is, how are you feeling and how are things?
Very similar to yesterday. I don't feel any pain, just some marks in my face. But in general, I'm very happy to be here today without any pain. I think the car did an amazing job and just absorbed all the energy, all the forces of my body. So I'm very happy to be here, and hopefully the next days will continue like that.
We're very excited that you're feeling well. That's the most important thing. But I've got to ask, you're not starting in the race. Is that because the team couldn't fix the car in the short time, or is it because the doctor said it's better not to?
It's just a precaution, let's say, situation, because yesterday evening it wasn't sure if I have some internal damage in my body. So they decided I have to stay one night in the hospital. And in case something happens inside my body, they could react. And then we decided, okay, if you have to stay in hospital for one night, it doesn't make sense to race the next day. And that was the decision. I think they could have maybe fixed the car, but in general, the health is much more important. So we decided to stay in hospital and go on the safe side.
All right, well, we're hoping the car's going to be superb till Budapest. You've got 2 weeks, I'm sure it'll be fine. Thank you very much, Rene, and back to you.
Well, yes, great news that Rene Rast, the DTM champion, is perfectly okay. Nico Müller then, he was the car that stalled on the grid yesterday, which Jamie Green collided with, and an awful lot of work went into getting both that car and also the Jamie Green car back out on the grid for today's racing. So Audi working very, very hard to get those cars back out onto the grid. So you can just see the BMW bank car and Bruno Spengler there. There is the BMW of Augusto Farfus. Augusto Farfus going from P12 on the grid, the Brazilian driver. His qualifying time of 1:38.710. 1:38.710 for Augusto Farfus, the BMW driver. Chief of Mercedes-Benz DTM is, of course, Uli Fritz.
And now I'm here with Uli Fritz. So the race is looking good for you, obviously, with P2 and P3. The sun is shining, so do you think it's going to be a sunny, good day for you?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we have, I think, 5 cars in the top 10, so it should be pretty a good position to go for the race. But we have seen pretty much yesterday that nearly everything can happen in DTM, and we just try to focus and get the most out of it.
Well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Uli Fritz. Back to you.
As Uli Fritz says, just about anything can happen in DTM, and often does. Here comes the starting grid then for race 4 of the season. Philipp Eng, the rookie, goes from pole position with Pascal Wehrlein alongside him P2. Then we find Gary Paffett and Marco Wittmann, P3 and P4. It's row 2 of the grid completed there. To row 3, it's Mike Rockenfeller, and yesterday's winner, Eduardo Mortara, is going from P6 on the grid. Another rookie, Joel Eriksson. He goes from P7, and Lucas Auer in car 22 is alongside with Daniel Juncadea and Timo Glock occupying the 5th row of the DTM grid. It's Bruno Spengler and Augusto Farfus going from P11 and P12. And then we find Nico Muller and Robin Frins on the 7th row. It's Paul di Resta and Jamie Green going from P15 and P16, and bringing up the rear of the grid, it is Loic Duval going from P17. So that's the way the grid shapes up. All the cars in qualifying covered by just 0.8 of a second. That's how close qualifying is in DTM, and we know just how close the racing can be. And the thousands of expectant fans here at the Lausitzring are looking forward to that race, and a slightly longer Lausitzring circuit than we have usually used. More about that in just a mo. Let's hear from BMW first.
Yes, I'm now here with Rudi Dittrich, and obviously for BMW it's looking splendid because you've got your best man right here in pole position, Philipp Eng. Very impressive for a rookie. He's really done great racing there. So with 4 BMW in the top 10, got a good feeling, right?
It looks very good, I have to say, indeed. A very impressive weekend from Philipp so far. He drove a very intelligent race also yesterday. So let's see if he can duplicate it today, and also let's see if we can bring Timo and Marco and the guys forward in the race. Let's see. But the Mercedes also was strong, so it's going to be hopefully as interesting as the previous races this season so far.
Well, we're all hoping for that. Thank you very much. Best of luck for the race, and back to you.
As I was saying then, it's an elongated version of the Lausitzring circuit last used by DTM back in 2004. 4.5 kilometers rather than the 3.7 that's been used previously. 14 turns, 8 of them left, 6 of them are right-handers. And this is Lucas Auer then, whose qualifying was perhaps not quite as far up the front as he expected. He will be going from P8 on the grid, banking a 1:38.5, giving him P8. And there is Joel Eriksson, who goes from P7. As I mentioned, the entire grid split by just 0.8. In fairness, it was all incredibly close in qualifying. Joel Eriksson then, the rookie driver, who had an astounding race in the second race at Hockenheim, banking a P4 place. What can he do today from P7 on the grid? Eduardo Mortara, of course, was victorious yesterday. He is going from P6 on the grid. He won the race yesterday, the first time he'd won the DTM race with Mercedes-Benz. Of course, he moved manufacturers to Mercedes-Benz a season or so ago, and Edo taking his first victory for that mark in the first race here at Lausitzring yesterday. Mike Rockenfeller, his quali time, a 1:38.376. At one point he was top of the table, but got knocked down to P5 in the end, so it's a P5 start for the number 99 former champion Mike Rockenfeller. In his Audi, he's going from P5 on the grid here at Lausitzring. Marco Wittmann, two-time champion then. Qualifying time, a 1:38.283 from Marco Wittmann. Puts him on the second row of the grid. He's going from P4. Offset grid here, where the inside line is where P2, 4, 6 are. And Gary Paffett is going from P3 on the grid. Gary Paffett, again, another one of those drivers who had an outstanding Hockenheim race, taking the win in race 1, then P3 in race 2. He banked some points yesterday. It was P9, so Pascal Wehrlein just sneaking ahead of him during qualifying. Pascal Wehrlein, the former Formula 1 star, will be going from P2 on the grid. But as we know, Philipp Eng is on pole position for race 2 here at Lausitzring. in the site of one of the former ore extraction machines that was used in this area, Lausitzring. 22 DTM races since 2001. The last winners, Lucas Auer and Jamie Green. 7 victories for Audi, 1 for BMW, 14 for Mercedes-Benz, who have been the dominant brand here at the Lausitzring. Some tracks suit some cars better than others, of course. For DTM this year, there has been a significant reduction in the aero package that is on the cars that's made the cars much less vulnerable with regards to damage. As we see row 1, Philipp Eng, the rookie driver, going from P1, then Pascal Wehrlein alongside, then it's Paffett and Wittmann, and Rockenfeller and Eduardo Mortara occupying the first 3 rows of the grid. To the next 3 rows, Joel Eriksson and Lucas Am, Daniel Juncker-Deyer, Timo Glock, Bruno Spengler and Augusto Farfus complete the rows from 4 through until 6 inclusive. Then rows 7, 8 and 9 contain Nico Muller, Robin Frins, Paul de Resta, Jamie Green and Loic Duval. Of course, Rene Rast is not on the grid following that horrific incident yesterday, which saw his car end over end rolling. Thankfully, we know that Rene Rast is all perfectly okay. So as you can see, air temperature here just a shade under 23 degrees, track temperature 35.4. 55 minutes plus 1 lap. The race duration, which didn't get off to a fantastic start yesterday, certainly not for Jamie Green and Nico Muller, but for Gary Paffett then, who will be hoping for great things. He's done a good job in qualifying, going from P3 on the grid. Pascal Wehrlein then, as I mentioned, former Formula 1 star, back into the DTM and making his presence felt already. Pascal Wehrlein is going from P2 on the grid, having banked a P5, a P6 and a P8 in the 3 races so far. But what about this man, Philipp Eng, the Austrian driver, new into DTM for this season, one of the rookie drivers, car number 25 for the RBM team, was on the podium for P3 yesterday as Mr. Gerhard Berger and Dieter Gasser are deep in conversation on the grid, and one of the young fans holds the checkered flag ready for the race conclusion in around about 56 or 7 minutes time. Timo Glock then head of the Drivers' Championship on 62 points. Gary Paffett P2, Eduardo Mortara is P3. Points are awarded, of course, in qualifying as well, where you get 3, 2, 1 points respectively for first, second and third in qualifying, adding to the points tally that you can take for your achievement in the race. And those points gained in qualifying can and are crucial when it comes to the end of the championship, at the end of the year, in terms of where you sit in the Drivers' Championship. Rene Rast, of course, banked the most points as Uli Fritz walks out of the garage, takes a look at his watch, and for the team chiefs of the various brands in DTM, it's always a tense time right at the start of the race, but Mercedes-Benz with a phenomenal record here at the Lausitzring are looking forward to another phenomenal achievement for that brand in race 2. Let's see if they can deliver. So Eng and Wehrlein on the front row of the grid. Toto Wolff then also here from Mercedes-Benz to the right-hand side of your picture. And Dr. Mario Thiessen, nice to see him in the paddock here and in the BMW garage, of course. And BMW also having done a very, very good job in qualifying, particularly with their rookie driver, Philipp Eng. So, we have 1 minute to go. I will introduce you to my race summariser in just a moment. It's Alex Toril joining us once again in race comms, and we're delighted to have him alongside us. So the fine trophies that are up for grabs here at the Lausitzring, I have to say the trophies that were presented on the podium yesterday were some of the finest I've seen, and so now it's just 30 seconds. And Stefan Moser from Audi is on the pit wall. As you can see, the clock above the lighting gantry counting down the seconds for the formation lap to get underway, where it's crucial for all the drivers to get the cars set up into the perfect position to launch a perfect start. So with just 8 seconds to go before the start of this formation lap, bang on time, let the cars roll. And sure enough, they do. So they all scream past the trophy that they all want to win. All of the 17 drivers that are taking part in this DTM Race 2 at the Lausitzring. From here we head off to the Hungaroring in Budapest. This is the splitter cam from Timo Glock's BMW, giving us a bird's eye view, if you like, of turns 2, 3, 4, and then at turn 5 you come back onto part of the oval section of this circuit. This is turn 5 now, the left-hander, and then back onto part of the original tri-oval here, where you get oh so close to that concrete wall. And this is where the track effectively has been extended in comparison to the track that we've used in previous years in DTM. So Timo vigorously weaving from side to side to try and generate some temperature into those tyres before turning into the left-hander, which is turn 6, straight into turn 7, which is a right-hander. Then a more sweeping turn 8, where you can carry more speed into a slight straight before turn number 9. So eager, full of anticipation, and with beautiful weather conditions, we're at the Lausitzring as DT Gas inside the Audi garage. One of his drivers, Mike Rockenfeller, in the number 99 car, on his way to park up in the grid box and get the start sequence underway. The man from pole position is Philipp Eng, with 2 Mercedes-Benz who will be certainly breathing down his neck right at the start of the race, those of Pascal Wehrlein and Gary Paffett. That part of the track that you're looking at now is where you can decide to come into the pit lane. And now around the final turn, heading towards their grid boxes. Philipp Eng, the Austrian, then made his podium debut in the DTM yesterday. Will he be on the podium today? Will it be on the top step? Well, 55 minutes and 1 lap will reveal all. So flicking the back end of the car out, very aggressively warming of those tyres, and then millimetrically perfect into his grid box. The drivers are all guided into those grid boxes by their engineers to make sure that they're perfectly positioned within the grid boxes. We've seen on a number of occasions an incorrect grid position can mean that you pick up a penalty, and no one wants to be doing that. We await the green flag from the marshal at the rear of the track, and whistle-stop tour of the garages ahead of the start of race 2 here at Lausitzring. There is the green flag from the marshal at the rear. We have a sequence of 5 red lights. When all the lights go out, we will be away and racing. So Pascal Wehrlein and Philipp Eng then from the front row of the grid. Philipp Eng does exactly what he needs to do and defends from Pascal Wehrlein. Already making a move is Marco Wittmann versus Gary Paffett, with a battle going on for P3 at the moment, but Gary Paffett is able to seal that. This, the opening lap of the DTM through the first sequence of corners in race 2 here at the Lausitzring. Joel Eriksson in a fight on the inside there with Eduardo Mortara as they make their way on for the first time of asking to part of the original tri-oval of this circuit. Lucas Auer behind the Eduardo Mortara car. Joel Eriksson just ahead of Edo Mortara. Some lockups going into turn number 6. Side by side they go through, and now the sweeping turn 8. Philipp Eng got it all seemingly under control. Do bear in mind there's a mandatory pit stop to come as Paul de Resta is on the outside of Nico Müller. So the mandatory pit stop can be taken at any point during the course of the race. Nico Müller and Paul de Resta remain absolutely side by side here. And Paul de Resta on the inside of Nico Müller, but around this sweeping turn, if Nico Müller can keep his foot in, but he isn't able to do so. So Paul de Resta then finds himself ahead of Nico Müller. Good overtake there by the Mercedes driver. So as the cars snake through and make their way back out onto the original oval with 1 lap beckoning to be put in the book. Already 1 car dives into the pit lane. I'm pretty sure that was Jamie Green. This is how close you get to the concrete wall. And we're on board with Lucas Auer. And that concrete wall is very unforgiving and does not bend at all. As I mentioned, alongside me, top racing driver Alex Toril. You've been pretty close to that concrete wall in your racing career. This is a phenomenal circuit and a good start from the DTM drivers.
Yeah, perfect start, everything really clean, really good start from Philippe, defending his position, getting really good launch out of the starting grid when we see the pit stop of Jamie Green.
Now this might be strategy at work here. Jamie Green deciding to come in even before one lap has been completed, so he's going to go onto very fresh tyres, but very, very early on in the races. DRS is being enabled now, so it'll be interesting to see that. I mean, to be fair, where Jamie Green was situated right at the back of the pack on the last few rows, you've got to throw a dice, try anything, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. He's in a total position. He has nothing, let's say, to lose, so he can take the risk to go early, do an early pit stop. If a safety car is happening, then he can rejoin behind the pack, and he has lost no time. Or don't stay without staying in the traffic. It's also already winning time because he can develop his pace and lap faster than other cars which are maybe stuck behind another driver in traffic.
Well, Pascal Wehrlein is just beginning to look pretty lively on the back of Philippe Eng now. Now, DRS being enabled, what DRS does, it gives you a temporary boost which can be used 3 times during the course of the during the course of the lap that you choose to use it, and it makes the car ahead vulnerable to your overtake. However, you have to be within 1 second of the car in front of you, and you can see the DRS open on the Pascal Wehrlein car. Philippe Eng goes to the inside to defend, so Pascal Wehrlein goes around the outside. This is the fight for the lead as, well, Philippe Eng squeezes out Pascal Wehrlein, who loses out to Gary Paffett, who sneaks through on the inside of Pascal Wehrlein and takes up the P2 position. So Pascal Wehrlein was fighting hard with Philippe Eng, wasn't able to make the overtake work, and whilst all that was going on, Gary Paffett, like a viper, was just waiting to pounce, and sure enough did. And now Philippe Eng is going to have the British star breathing down his neck. That is, assuming Pascal Wehrlein doesn't wrestle back that pace. DRS can be used to attack, and of course it can also be used to defend, Alex, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. When we see right now the replay, really good defending maneuver from Philippe Eng, keeping on the inside, stopping the car, and denying the opportunity to Pascal Wehrlein to get past. And of course, the bigger winner of this situation was Gary Paffett, who could pass his brandmate Pascal Wehrlein on the inside of corner 2 as he got a better acceleration out of the first corner.
Very close they were too, and it was a great onboard shot of Gary Paffett using his left foot on the brake. All the drivers adopt this left foot braking. Now you can see on the graphics to the left-hand side of your screen how many DRS laps are available to the drivers. And Gary Paffett now for sure will be using DRS. He does open the window, and this is where Philippe Eng will become vulnerable to Gary Paffett, and Pascal Wehrlein will always try and take advantage as well, but Paffett gets the move done even before turn 1. Philippe Eng under investigation for potentially pushing Pascal Wehrlein off the track. Do you know what? I think it was just really, really close racing, but nonetheless the race stewards will take a look at that. But the new race leader is the British driver Gary Paffett then, who of course now Philippe Eng will have DRS available to him. So what Gary Paffett needs to do, Alex, in this lap is try and open up a gap of a second, doesn't he, so that no one can come back at him with DRS.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to try to open the gap, and we see again Pascal Wehrlein now trying to get past Philippe Eng on the new part of the racetrack on turn number 6. Philippe Eng getting a black and white flag for presumably or forcing Pascal Wehrlein off the racetrack. I think I'm with you, Dave. I think it was room enough for racing, and this is the way you need to defend when you have DRS. It's totally free to the driver to maybe squeeze the brake or let the car brake a little bit longer if you are parallel side by side, and deny a little bit the other driver to get you the switchback or the losing.
At the end of the day, I think that's why he's got a black and white flag. It's only a warning, isn't it?
It's a small warning, so nothing to worry about. We see nevertheless Philippe losing some rhythm. Maybe it's because we were talking on qualifying before, his strategy of not pushing too much at the beginning to save some tires and then maybe come back, because that was his, as his already mentioned himself, his small mistake yesterday. He pushed too much at the beginning, then he was struggling to keep the tires towards the end. So maybe he's doing the opposite strategy today. We will see towards the end of the race.
Well, Gary Paffett has really opened up quite a margin of 1.6 seconds. So basically that means Gary Paffett, or rather Pascal Wehrlein, has not got DRS, as Philipp Eng is under strife and pressure now from Marco Wittmann. And Marco Wittmann, who is in the same manufacturer brand as Philipp Eng. Marco Wittmann trying to get past. Eduardo Mortara is trying hard. So too Joel Eriksson and Mike Rockenfeller. And of course Timo Glock is on the back of that little train of cars there that are all fighting over what is now that P3 position. So Paffett then has broken the DRS window for Pascal Wehrlein. Wehrlein does not have DRS to go after Gary Paffett, and equally so, Philipp Eng doesn't have DRS on Pascal Wehrlein. So now we see places being traded here. Mike Rockenfeller with Eduardo Mortara and Timo Glock going through. So Rocky losing out on a couple of places there. He tries to come back at Timo Glock now as they head into this turn. But Timo Glock is able to shut the door. Lucas Auer tries to come around the outside. This is the fight that's going on for P6 at the moment, and quite a fraught fight it is as well. Also trying to buy into that is Daniel Juncker-Deher, who takes to the grass almost. So Daniel Juncker-Deher then right behind Lucas Auer, and surely there must be something wrong with the Mike Rockenfeller car, Alex, because he's losing places hand over fist here.
Yeah, we see he's losing quite a lot of rhythm. A bit similar like Philipp Eng, he's also struggling to keep the pace. When we see he's also under investigation for the same issue as with Philipp Eng, forcing another car, in this case Daniel Juncker-Deher, out of the racetrack. When we see now Marco Wittmann just on the slipstream of Philipp Eng, driving on the inside.
He's got the job done, hasn't he?
He's done it on the brakes. We'll try maybe Philip to the switchback, not too far away.
So Philipp Eng finds himself now down into P4. Marco Wittmann is ahead of him, and Joel Eriksson is the next in the queue of cars trying to get past. In the meantime, Gary Paffett extending his lead at the front of the pack by a further 0.3 over Pascal Wehrlein. It's now 1.9 seconds. Bear in mind, all the drivers, with the exception of Jamie Green, have got to come in and do their mandatory pit stop at some point between now and the end of the race. It can be left right to the end, or it can be done very early on, as Jamie Green did so. Nico Muller chasing down Paul di Resta. Paul di Resta, of course, got past Nico Muller very early on in the race. And we're on board now, or we were, with Timo Glock, who's running in that P7 position at the moment, chasing down the race winner from yesterday, Eduardo Mortara. So Mike Rockenfeller, another driver that will be given the black and white flag for forcing another car off the track. It is merely a warning. And like both Alex and I have said, you know, it is racing, and we like to see close, tight racing. Don't ever want to see another car forced off the track, but you're going to have to defend your position, that's for sure. And every driver wants to be able to do that. So Edo Mortara then. Next in Eduardo Mortara's sights is Joel Eriksson, another rookie driver for BMW. Edo, of course, is in one of those invidious positions, isn't he, in P6, where he's chasing and being chased as well, with both Timo Glock and Lucas Auer sitting right behind. So here comes our race leader, Gary Paffett, who looks to me like it's 1.9 seconds now between Paffett and Wehrlein. Here comes Lucas Auer on Timo Glock. Timo Glock knew he was coming, closed the door and made the inside line not a place where Lucas Auer could go. And subsequently, Timo Glock retains that P7 position at the moment. But you can see, the minute you start defending, Alex, as the yellow car ahead of this one is doing, you lose sight of the car ahead of you. You know, you're focusing on defending rather than attacking, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. As it's extremely tight in lap times grid, as soon as you lose a few tenths of in a lap due to defending, what it makes is increase the gap with the car in front of you. So you need to really take care not to lose too much time with traffic, and of the gap between you and the car in front of you will increase gradually as you focus on defending and not pushing or coming forward.
So Gary Paffett then, this car number 2, is leading the race, and leading it by a margin of 1.9 seconds over this man, Pascal Wehrlein, the youngest ever DTM champion, 2-time DTM champion, is right behind him in P3, and that is Marco Wittmann for BMW. You then get 3 BMWs in a row, because you've got Marco Wittmann, Philipp Eng, and Joel Eriksson ahead of then Eduardo Mortara, Timo Glock, Lucas Auer, Danny Juncadella and Bruno Spengler is rounding out the top 10. That's the way it looks at the moment. It's going to be very interesting to see strategically who decides to come into the pit lane and when. So this is Joel Eriksson then. And Eduardo Mortara. Eduardo Mortara, of course, taking the win yesterday. Now, both cars can use DRS, can't they? So it's down to natural pace.
Mortara really deep on the brakes. What a nice move.
He left it really late, didn't he? Joel Eriksson went to turn in and decided that, actually, I can't do that because the gap I want to turn into is full of the Eduardo Mortara car. So just as I was mentioning the pit stops, Mike Rockenfeller chooses to come in fairly early on. And he's on his way out, so it'll be interesting to see where Mike Rockenfeller, what the strategy plays out for him. Right, Joel Eriksson now has got Timo Glock for company, and also Lucas Auer is kind of pushing Timo Glock, isn't he?
Oh, really missing a little bit the apex on that corner for Joel Eriksson. That allows Timo Glock to close the gap immediately, and really like to see a replay of the overtaking maneuver from Mortara. It was fantastic, down on the brakes, really deep on the brakes in the first corner. I think Joel Eriksson was at any moment expecting that to happen.
Joel Eriksson's car looks to be sliding about a bit more than some of the others, to be fair. So he has got Timo Glock. You can see now, just in that picture, how Eduardo Mortara now has just got up the road from Joel Eriksson. Joel Eriksson proving to be a bit of a cork in the bottle here in P6. So Mike Rockenfeller pitted on lap 7, Jamie Green on lap 1, as you can see. Edo Mortara under investigation now for forcing another driver to leave the track, and in truth, I just think that's you know, it's really, really close racing, and I hope all he gets is a black and white warning flag over that. So Joel Eriksson now on the straights seems to have the pace, but it's on the twisty bits of the circuit inside where he's struggling, although Timo Glock is not as close. And the reason Timo Glock is not as close is, of course, because he's having to defend from Lucas Auer, the ever-present Lucas Auer, who's running in P8 at the moment and trying to get that P7 position. So that's the battle between Timo Glock and Lucas Auer. And
when we see Mortara has to, he just backed off and let Joel Eriksson pass again, and he's now in front of Timo Glock.
So that's
so
why.
They have to change the position.
Well spotted, Alex.
So we get the message, a little bit later probably than the teams down there. But to be honest, I think
that's out of order.
That's
sorry.
It's not, in my opinion, as you said, it's not a fair penalty, because it was a totally fair overtaking maneuver. It was perfectly done, and there was not even a single little bit of contact, I think. So that's racing, that's close racing, and it's how it should be.
Well, we will perhaps see a replay of that, but I think that's a pretty harsh penalty for Edo Mortara, truthfully. But there we are. It is racing, and that's what it's all about. So all of a sudden, Edo's got to do it all over again because he's been pushed back to that P6 position. So he's chasing Joel Eriksson once again. Got 40 minutes of the race remaining, and only 2 of the drivers thus far have pitted. We're on board with Timo Glock, who himself now is, rather than chasing Joel Eriksson, he is chasing Edo Mortara. In comes Nico Müller then. And this is interesting. Mortara gets a black and white flag in addition to having changed the positions. So it's under observation. We have a train of cars coming in because Paul de Resta is in, Nico Müller is in, and Augusto Farfus is coming in as well. So pit lane speed limit observed, and the cars make their way down the pit lane now. Nico Müller stops. The team go to work on the car, the apt team. HWA for Paul de Resta. We run the clock, and Nico Müller out in 6.8, and Paul de Resta 8.2. Whoa! He only just gets out ahead of Nico Müller.
Bit slow pit stop for Paul de Resta at 8.3.
I wonder if they'll look at that and consider that an unsafe release. I don't think so, because Nico didn't have to lift, did he?
That didn't look like. Must see small replay, but
he wasn't.
I have to say the Mercedes was not the fastest pit stop
I've
seen.
Right.
So now, to remind there, everyone goes out on cold tires, so the first few corners or first lap, it's a bit difficult. Grip lever is not as high as when the tires are warm.
And that's because tyre warmers since, last season been banned, haven't they, from DTM? So you're absolutely right, Alex. That when they come in for their mandatory change, the tyres have not been pre-warmed, so they go out on cold tyres. And yesterday, you described it to me as like driving on ice relative to a tyre which is up to temperature.
Yeah, it's a completely change of grip. It feels like a really bad grip situation. Of course, the tire is made of a lot of chemical parts, and they need to be warm to work well together, to stick to the ground, to stick to the tarmac. And as we see now, Mortara trying to regain that position again with Joel Eriksson. Again, deep on the brakes. Eriksson dives to the inside. And now it's Timo Glock on the inside of Joel Eriksson as well, and same does Lucas Auer.
Look at this, almost 3 abreast. Lucas Auer, look at that, all the way around the outside of 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. Look at that, what brilliant driving from Lucas Auer. Joel Eriksson squeezed towards the wall. The big beneficiary there was the Mercedes driver, Lucas Auer. For my money, the overtake into turn 1 was no different to previously.
Yeah, as we see Joel Eriksson, the biggest loser of the situation, losing more position, and now having even a teammate or brandmate, well, teammate actually, because they race for the same team, Bruno Spengler just behind him, making also some pressure.
That was a really opportunistic move from Lucas Auer, who could see it all unfolding ahead of him, and he was going to take advantage, and boy, didn't he take advantage. Brilliant driving from Lucas Auer, who now has Edo Mortara ahead of him, having got past both Timo Glock and Joel Eriksson. So let's see now what Lucas Auer can do. Here is our race leader who chooses to pit. Gary Paffett, from the lead of the race, comes into the pit lane. Now, Mercedes need to be sharper on the pit stop with Gary Paffett than they were with Paul di Resta. That's for sure. So there he is, Lucas Auer. Now, behind Eduardo Mortara, Timo Glock there opens the DRS window on the rear wing. You could see it opening there. And, of course, in comes Gary Paffett. Stops perfectly in his grid box. The team goes to work on the Gary Paffett car then to get him back out in as quick a time as possible. It still wasn't a brilliant time, Alex.
No, if we compare to before, I think it was Mike Rockefeller had a 6.5 seconds pit stop, so it's 1 point. Again, have to change the position. This is unbelievable.
Well, once again, as you've just seen on screen, cars 48 and number 47 have got to change position. Well, that's a huge blow to Edo Mortara, who, of course, is now P5. Joel Eriksson is P8.
Yeah, this is a big loss for Eduardo Mortara.
Gary Paffett warming his tyres because he's on cold tyres. I'm really struggling to see that.
I cannot see it from a driver perspective point of view, completely objective. It makes no sense. It's a perfectly executed overtaking maneuver, deep on the brakes, of course. And this first corner is like this on Lausitzring. We've seen every overtaking maneuver so strict. We see now Mortara have to be back off.
He has to let Lucas Auer past. He has to let Timo Glock past. And
I'm
now
actually waiting for Edo Mortara radio to come because
well,
he must be really angry.
He loses out. Talk about from heroes to zero. I mean, he took the race win yesterday, and oh, you can see how frustrated he is as he. Whoa! There's very nearly a touch between Edo Mortara and Danny Juncadella as they come into the pit lane. Also under investigation is Paul di Resta for an unsafe release. I did wonder whether it was that close. You can see how frustrated Eduardo Mortara is at having to do this, and he just lost the car there. I don't know whether he actually intended to come into the pit lane at that point. Would you have said?
Yeah, I think we just shortly hear the radio. Probably was a short call. Okay, he lost the brake. Oh, what a shame. So he lost the brake, so he's now forced to do the pit stop. But this we see, it's like I said, he must be so angry.
Oh, I can
so
imagine.
frustrated because of this, that he lost the brake, you know. I can totally understand, because it's just pure racing.
Well, I'm jolly glad that I'm not in race control, because I would hate to have to make those decisions, but interesting they seem to be, and perhaps even controversial. So Daniel Juncadella then, Augusto Farfus will get past him with no problems at all, because Eduardo Mortara is of course on cold tyres now, having pitted. Gary Paffett pitted on lap 11, so Mortara and Juncadella on lap 12. So the effective leader of the race now is Pascal Wehrlein, but do bear in mind Pascal Wehrlein is yet to stop. Big beneficiaries here are Lucas Auer and Timo Glock, aren't they? As in comes Pascal Wehrlein now. And as I say, I'm not convinced that Edo was going to come in on that lap, but because he missed the braking and the car was out of shape, Paul di Resta going to be reported to the stewards of the meeting for an unsafe release. That again is a tough call, isn't it? Because there wasn't any, you know, he didn't look like he was going to make contact. They were really close, but nearly lost a place in that. Here is Marco Wittmann then, who becomes the nominal race leader for the moment. So in Pascal Wehrlein. So far, we've not seen quick stops from Mercedes-Benz. Is this going to change that trend potentially? Frankly, no, it isn't. So here comes Gary Paffett. Now, he should be comfortably ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, and also Pascal Wehrlein is going to be on cold tyres in any event. So the one that is going to trouble Pascal Wehrlein is just going into turn 1 now with the car of Mike Rockenfeller, who, of course, didn't stop as early as Jamie Green. Jamie Green, you'll recall, stopped right on the opening lap, so his tyres are more than beyond up to temperature, aren't they? Paul di Resta there and Mike Rockenfeller together. So Paffett untroubled by Pascal Wehrlein. Trouble for Wehrlein could come from Jamie Green, but I think Pascal Wehrlein has opened up enough of a gap over Jamie Green. Here is Paul di Resta on Mike Rockenfeller then. We've got just under 32 minutes of the race remaining. All over the back of the Audi is the Mercedes-Benz of Paul di Resta. And here a replay of the start then, and thankfully much less dramatic than the start of yesterday's race. As the cars all scream down towards turn number 1. Paul di Resta with a brilliant start, putting himself between those two Audis of Nico Müller and Robin Frins. And in now comes Marco Wittmann and also Philipp Eng and also Joel Eriksson. So 3 BMWs in a row then come in. Teams go to work, and we'll look at the pit stop times for Marco Wittmann, Philipp Eng, and also potentially for Joel Eriksson as well. See, you know, they're a couple of seconds quicker, aren't they?
Yes, definitely. Philipp Eng also lost a bit compared to Marco Wittmann, 1.5 seconds. There you see that the pit stops, how important it is when he just rejoined slightly behind Pascal Wehrlein.
And of course,
I will not mention myself. Yeah, Marco Wittmann is ahead of Wehrlein. Let's see if he can still keep the tires or warm up then quick. Then he might have won a position even on the pit lane when we see him waving, try to keep those tires into temperature.
He is going to be vulnerable, isn't he? Because what does it take? It takes a whole lap, doesn't it, to bring those tyres up to temperature, Alex?
Yeah, we see it's taking around 3/4 of a lap, a full lap to bring the tires into temperature. We see now Wehrlein closing the gap to Marco Wittmann.
But you see, where Marco has a slight advantage here is whilst he's warming these tyres, it's not really an overtaking place, is it, for Pascal Wehrlein? So this inner part of the circuit means that Marco is not perhaps as vulnerable, although Pascal Wehrlein is really going to push him now. It's going to come at the end of the lap, isn't it? Turns 13, 14. So we'll keep our eye on this battle then. It's Marco Wittmann in the BMW on new tyres. He's just pitted. Pascal Wehrlein pitted a lap earlier on lap 13, so his tyres will now be up to temperature, so that may well mean, particularly with the DRS assist as well, that he is going to be vulnerable to Pascal Wehrlein as in comes Timo Glock now. So Timo Glock down the pit lane, the speed limiter is in and on, and it seems like an age before you reach the box. 7.3 seconds. So here comes Timo Glock to rejoin the race, and he'll slot in behind Mike Rockenfeller, but will be vulnerable to Nico Müller, who's behind him, because Nico Müller, his tyres are up to temperature, so Timo Glock now. This is where Nico Müller needs to try and find his way past Timo Glock, probably in the entrance to turn 6, but he's not quite close enough. Or is he? Here he comes then. Nico Müller and Timo Glock fighting here over this position. Timo Glock, though, executes the entry to the turn perfectly. He's got Nico Müller for good company now. So the three that haven't stopped are Lucas Auer, Loic Duval and Bruno Spengler. So it's this inner part of the circuit, which if you can just get the first, almost the first sector done on those cold tyres, Alex, that then gives you the inner part of the circuit to warm the tyres up to give you the advantage.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you can make it up to corner number 6, 7, which is the back straight of the racetrack of this new configuration, you have a lot of chance to try to keep that position. Because then we have corner 9 and 10, it's also a big straight, but you already have some temperature in the tires, so you can descend more or less yourself, and as soon as you do the last sector, your tires are more or less up to temperature. When we see Lucas Auer coming into the box.
So the nominal leader then becomes Loic Duval and Bruno Spengler in P2, but that, of course, is a pre-pit stop. Lucas Auer is out and is returning down the pit lane now. The gap between Paffett and Wittmann, just looking on the timing screen, is... well, let's see. We'll wait for the next lap round before... Paffett, he went in on lap 11, so his tyres are effectively 3 laps older than those of Marco Wittmann, who went in lap 14. Nico Müller now on Lucas Auer, and Joel Eriksson there as well. Joel Eriksson will try and find a way past, but now Lucas Auer has sort of closed the door onto this inner part of the circuit. We go on board with Joel Eriksson. This now becomes ever more difficult, doesn't it, to try and get past the car in front, because the overtaking opportunities on this section of the circuit through turns 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's much, much more difficult.
Yeah, exactly. This is a really high downforce part that the cars is really hard to stick behind. You lose some grip because of the car in front of you. It's denying you some downforce, and then of course there is no place where to make the movement, and you need to wait for the straight, and especially because of the DRS, to try to make that the movement, especially is right to left, left to right. So it's difficult to point the car and prepare an overtaking maneuver, unless the car in front of you does a mistake.
Yes, of course. In comes Bruno Spengler then. So that means the last car to pit is going to be Loic Duval. So in the BMW driver, Bruno Spengler. Team go to work on his car. Let's keep the clock on it. 7.1 seconds as there up the inside goes Robin Frins on Augusto Farfus, and returning out on track comes the car of Bruno Spengler now. So Nico Müller ahead of Lucas Auer. Joel Eriksson not been able to find a way past the number 22 Mercedes-Benz. And we have 25 minutes of the race plus 1 lap remaining. Lucas Auer just showing his nose to the inside of the Nico Müller car as they turn in off turn 6, around turn 7 now, and head towards turn number 8, which is a much more sweeping left-hander, as you can see. And the most frustrated driver, of course, Edo Mortara, is but a further car behind this pack. Lucas Auer again looking at the inside, but he's not close enough, and if anything, it's more just to unsettle, or try and unsettle Nico Müller ahead of him, but he hasn't been able to do that. So this is Gary Paffett, and you can see the gap between Paffett and Wittmann is changing lap on lap, Alex. So I made the point that Gary Paffett's tyres are 3 laps older than Marco Wittmann's. Is that enough to give Wittmann the grip necessary, or the longevity in the tyres necessary over the remaining 24 minutes to try and get hold of Paffett?
Yeah, I don't think it's a lot of laps. 3 laps, it doesn't make a big difference. When we see now Paul Di Resta diving on the inside of Jamie Green, it does a perfect overtaking maneuver. And as we're saying, I think 3 laps is not a big difference on laps to make that amount of time, or to gain such amount of time. We see also Nico Müller.
He's trying to come back at Lucas Auer here, isn't he? And here comes Joel Eriksson on the outside of Nico Müller. That's a long way around the outside. Edo Mortara now. Of course, Edo Mortara has been involved in such a battle with Joel Eriksson. Let's go on board with Joel Eriksson then. He's got the Nico Muller and Lucas Auer car ahead of him, and Edo Mortara breathing down his neck as Edo Mortara dives for the inside now, but isn't close enough, under braking to get to the inside of Joel Eriksson. Now, bear in mind, Edo Mortara was race winner yesterday, and what Alex and I were saying right at the beginning of the program is just because somebody did something in race 1 doesn't give you any form guide for race 2, and this is proven beyond a doubt, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We see Mortara struggling to stay around the top 10, and this is totally what we saw. We were talking yesterday. It's so easy that these results happen. So yesterday you won, and today you can be fighting for
even a points position.
P14, P13.
So the number 28 car of Loic Duval continuing not to come in, and here is the race leader, Gary Paffett, then in the all-blue Mercedes-Benz car. There is Marco Wittmann, who is now beginning to be chased by Pascal Wehrlein. I'm really going to be interested to see what the gap between Wittmann and Wehrlein, whether that comes down significantly, because there could be a race on there for the P2 position. Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller having a real ding-dong battle here. The big beneficiary may be Eduardo Mortara. So Eriksson, he does stay ahead of Nico Muller, and the Robin Friends car is going to try and join into this as well. So Robin Friends on the inside of Edo Mortara now, and Edo Mortara on the inside of Nico Muller. This long stretch of straight now. Edo will try and dive to the inside. He's got Robin Friends right with him as well. So Muller goes early to the inside. Now this becomes the inside for the next turn. Now I believe Edo sold Muller a bit of a dummy there. Muller thought he was going to go on the inside to turn 6. Mortara switched positions and was able to make it work around the outside. Here comes Robin Friends and Augusto Farfus now. Nico Muller really losing out here. In the space of but a few hundred meters, he's lost 3 places, Alex.
Yeah, this can happen so quick, especially here at the Lausitzring. You have such a type of corner combination that once you are on the outside of one corner, you can be losing many positions because the other one is on the other side. So it's really good maneuver again from Eduardo Mortara. I think is giving us really good overtaking maneuvers today on the outside, really holding Nico Muller on the outside and then having the inside line for the right corner. Really good. As we see now, Pascal Wehrlein turning into turn 1.
The gap between Paffett and Wittmann is 3.9 to 7.6, isn't it? And then it's 2 seconds from Wittmann to Wehrlein. And this is Pascal Wehrlein that we're watching now. Really hugging the concrete wall from turn 5 to 6. And you can see him really beginning to reel in Marco Wittmann. So Pascal Wehrlein and Marco Wittmann involved in this battle, which is effectively for P2 in the race. Loic Duval is showing on the graphics as being P1. But of course, Loic Duval is yet to stop the car and come in for his mandatory pit stop. Wittmann is getting closer, isn't he?
Yeah, it's gaining around 4 tenths per lap compared to Gary Paffett. We see
just saw Paul di Resta there.
It's Jamie Green.
So what can Marco Wittmann do then? He has got 9 DRS laps left. So too has Gary Paffett. Gary Paffett, though, needs someone ahead of him for him to be able to use DRS, because if he has clear track ahead of him, he's got no one that he can use as a DRS decoy almost in terms of defending against Marco Wittmann. Mike Rockenfeller and Timo Glock here. So Mike straight away to the inside to try and prevent Timo Glock getting the drag here on the splitter cam. What a brilliant shot this is as Timo Glock goes to the inside now. Mike Rockenfeller defenseless. Into turn 1, Timo Glock goes through on the Audi driver, Mike Rockenfeller. So the effective order then is Paffett, Wittmann, Wehrlein, di Resta, Green, and Philippe Eng down there in P6 when you take out Loic Duval in the factor. This was Timo Glock from a different camera angle then, bouncing his way down the straight here at Lausitzring and going through on turn 1 on Mike Rockenfeller. This is an even better angle because we're on the splitter cam of Timo Glock's car. My goodness, you leave it so late before you brake for that turn 1, Alex.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger points of these DTM cars. They have so much aerodynamic that they allow you to, when you drive, to brake really late, to be really deep into the corners with the brakes, and that's really amazing. If we could do a taxi lap or a lap in one of these cars, when we see Loic Duval, the last car missing to go into the box, doing so right now, you will be incredible. You will be amazed at how late you can brake. You feel like you're gonna crash. The corner is coming and the car is not
reducing in speed at all.
Exactly, the car is not reducing the speed. So
right, now we get back to the real race order then, because Loic Duval was leading the race, but of course he was in for his mandatory pit stop, which is taken now. So that means that we return to the real race order, which is Paffett, Wittmann, Wehrlein, De Resta, Green, Philipp Eng, Timo Glock, Mike Rockenfeller, and Lucas Au and Joel Eriksson. Tell you what, big beneficiary here, as we see Edo Mortara involved in a battle here with Robin Frins, and Edo Mortara and Robin Frins really trading a little bit of paint here. The big advantage, Edo Mortara now gets past the returning Loic Duval car, which of course is slow because tyres are not up to temperature. I will finally say what I wanted to say. Keep your eyes on Jamie Green. He decided to pit very early on and has moved himself well up the order now. Was there a touch there between the number 4 car and Bruno Spengler? I just wonder, not Bruno Spengler, Augusto Farfus. I just wonder whether the back end of the core of Robin Frins' car was touched by Augusto Farfus. Maybe not, just looked like the car bounced a little bit. So, yeah, as I say, the one to watch here, for my money, is Jamie Green. There is Marco Wittmann, and Gary Paffett then leading the race. And the margin between Gary Paffett and Marco Wittmann, as the cars head around turn number 14 now, are going to break the timing beam, and we get the gap between the two of them. And the gap is 2.8 seconds. So 2.8. Paffett to Wittmann. There's Timo Glock and Philipp Eng now are about to trade places. This is for P6 in the race. And Timo Glock does get that P6 place away from Philipp Eng. Philipp Eng, of course, who started on pole position, was on the podium yesterday, and perhaps the podium looks a distant and very unlikely prospect for him, but a lot can happen in 15 minutes in the DTM. Paffett leading from Wittmann. In the championship then, this would send Paffett to the top by 1 point over Timo Glock. It was reversed coming to Lausitzring. Glock was a point ahead of Paffett. Then it would be Wehrlein, Mortara, Auer and Paul de Resta. That the live championship prediction if everything was to stay the way it is currently. Don't expect that to be the case, though, over the remaining 14 minutes plus 1 lap. Timo Glock then in P6. Jamie Green, when you consider where Jamie Green started in the race, has done a sterling job, and so too of his team. That strategy of coming in very early on has obviously reaped rewards for Jamie Green, because he's up to P5. Being chased now by Timo Glock. Jamie Green has got Paul de Resta fairly distant ahead of him. Right, last time around it was 2.8 between Paffett and Wittmann. Let's see what the live gap is now as Gary Paffett crosses the and breaks the timing beam. 2.5, so 3/10.
Yeah, it's slowly chipping away. Marco Wittmann from Gary Paffett. This might lead us, if it stays like this, in maybe with around 7 minutes to go, it will should lead us to a battle for the first position when we see again Philipp Eng and Timo Glock fighting for for the sixth, seventh position of the race. Philippe Eng struggling to find the rhythm since the start. He did a really good start, really good first 2 laps, and then he struggled to find the rhythm with the pit stop, and still struggling to keep the same rhythm as the car in front, and losing slightly some position and some time.
You've called that exactly right. For whatever reason, he just can't seem to get into the groove, can he? After saying that, he is of course running in P7. To give you a roundup, it's as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, it's Paffett from Wittmann, Wehrlein, De Resta, Green, Glock, Eng, Rockefeller, Au, and Joel Eriksson rounding out the top 10. Edo Mortara is out of the points in P11, having been penalised a couple of times of having to give positions back following charges that were deemed to be somewhat unfair. 2.5 seconds. I have to say the gap looks less now. So Marco Wittmann quietly going about the job here of trying to reel in Gary Paffett, the British driver. Again, as they break the timing beam, let's see where it's at. It's gone from 2.5 seconds between the two of them to 2.2. It's been fairly consistent, 0.3 of a lap. Marco Wittmann is quicker than Gary Paffett. So your prediction is it's going to be for the final 5 minutes of the race that he should be on terms.
Yeah, it should be in around 4 or 5 minutes. So with 16 minutes to go, it should the gap completely done. But we always know, and this is racing, you first need to arrive and then you need to get past. At the moment, Wittmann has still 9 DRS, same as Gary Paffett, so this is something he can use into.
This is Augusto Farfus fighting with Loic Duval, and they're fighting over that P13 position. Augusto Farfus, the young Brazilian driver who is fighting for that place with Loic Duval. So can Loic Duval do it now? He's going to have to go to the outside of Augusto Farfus going into this turn. Carries just a little bit more momentum, but the BMW driver places the car exactly in the right place. Loic Duval has got Bruno Spengler right behind him as well. So the gap at the front is down to 2.2 seconds with 11.25 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this DTM race. We're live from the Lausitzring, about midway between Berlin and Dresden. So Jamie Green and Timo Glock then. And again, Timo Glock is reeling in Jamie Green. Now, I said about the strategy that Jamie Green used. Of course, he pitted very, very early on in the race, didn't he?
Yeah, he pitted just after the first lap of the race. So he has already 26 laps on his tires. But looks like the strategy was pretty much working. He's now probably struggling for the last few minutes. It's normal, it's a lot of lap on those tires. But looks like the Audi was working well till the moment. So let's see if he can maybe keep a little bit the pace and manage to close the race at least in a top 10 position.
Well, he's got Philippe Eng now for company because Timo Glock has gone through. And of course, whatever happens, you know, Jamie Green will look at this and consider where he started. And, you know, wherever he finishes, if he finishes in the points, it will be a very good strategy that has paid off for him.
Yeah, definitely. Starting from the back of the grid and coming into top 10, it would have been a perfect result for him, especially since this year that he didn't have the best start of the season with the not too good result in Hockenheim and also yesterday DNF.
He has had a torrid start to the season, hasn't he? It was a P19, a P17, and a DNF to the record. Now, Joel Eriksson is out of DRS. So too out of DRS now is Timo Glock. So you only get a certain amount of DRS usages, a certain amount of laps that you can use DRS. And those drivers, you can see the indicator on the left-hand side of your screen tells you how many DRS laps are left available. The gap between Paffett and Wittmann has come down, although on that occasion there was no increase. It's 2.1 seconds. So Wittmann, when he lapped a couple of laps later, didn't he, than Gary Paffett? 3 laps later. So can Gary hold on for the remaining just under 9 minutes plus 1 lap from the charge of the BMW driver Marco Wittmann.
Yeah, you said now it looked like the gap stabilized a little bit, but it's still nothing said. I think it's also important if Marco could reach to be just within a second, then he gets the DRS possibility. This will decrease the margin or the gap between both drivers reasonably. But he's still lapping now, similar lap time, still chipping really tiny bit away, but maybe not enough to close the 2 seconds gap.
Daniel Juncadella ahead of Augusto Farfus. And there, Augusto Farfus now being reeled in by the Loic Duval Audi. So Augusto Farfus in the BMW, Loic Duval in the Audi there, running in P14 and P15. Daniel Juncadella now P13, Robin Frins ahead of them in P12. And then it's Edo Mortara before we get into the points-paying positions, which is rounded out at the moment by Lucas Auer, who is running in P10. 7 3/4 minutes left. Timo Glock then, you can see the red indicator means that he has no DRS left available to him. And Philipp Eng has got 8 laps worth of DRS, so Timo Glock could become very vulnerable to Philipp Eng, who may be able to wrestle that position back from him. We will see. Gary Paffett, in the meantime, maintaining that 2.2 second margin over Marco Wittmann. So as Gary Paffett makes his way out of turn 14 now, beg your pardon, is out of turn 5, and this is heading down towards turn number 6, the left-hander for the British driver Gary Paffett then, already having taken 1 win this season and is in the lead currently. He's in his 15th DTM season, as you can see from the graphics on the screen. Certainly knows his way around the Lausitzring. There is Paul di Resta, who's running just off the podium at the moment in P4. So it's Paffett, Wittmann, Wehrlein and di Resta ahead of Glock, Eng. And it's Green, Rockenfeller, Ericsson and Auer. So Paul di Resta then, who his first DTM victory was Lausitzring 2008. I think the victory might be a big ask for Paul di Resta this afternoon. Though, of course, you can never tell what's going to happen ahead. So, Paffett, Wittmann, Wehrlein, di Resta. So there is the Marco Wittmann car that is chasing down Gary Paffett. But at the moment, Gary Paffett is managing the gap perfectly. 2.2 seconds. Marco Wittmann then 77 DTM races. And, of course, champion on 2 occasions. So, if anything, Paffett has increased the gap between himself and Marco Wittmann by a 10th, which is fantastic for Gary Paffett. He's able to manage this perfectly. And the top 3 all really spread out now. Paffett to Wittmann to Wehrlein. And whatever Marco Wittmann is able to throw at the Mercedes-Benz ahead, he's not reducing the gap now. It's stabilized to that gap between them. Philipp Eng has still not been able to get onto the back of Timo Glock, reinforcing the fact that the balance in the Philipp Eng car perhaps not quite as he would like it to be, because he does have DRS available to him and Timo Glock has got none. Augusto Farfus being chased now by Bruno Spengler. This is for P15 and P16. And behind them is Nico Müller, who is running in P17. So Gary Paffett leading, Marco Wittmann P2, and Pascal Wehrlein P3. Going to take a look at some of the best overtakes that we've seen in the race so far. We've still got 4.5 minutes of the race still to come nonetheless. So as we just momentarily look on the pit wall, try and listen into the conversation. So Timo Glock and Philipp Eng then, and as I said, Philipp Eng, clearly the balance of the car, given that he has DRS deficit, he has DRS advantage to Timo Glock. Timo is obviously much happier with the balance in his car, and Philipp Eng is getting closer now, and This is the first time he's been within shouting distance of Timo Glock. Glock has been able to manage this absolutely perfectly. So let's take a look, as I promised, at some of the best overtakes that we've seen in this race so far. Well, this was Gary Paffett on Philipp Eng, and Pascal Wehrlein lurking behind as well. And we can see it on board from Gary Paffett. So repeating some of the best overtakes that we've seen. This was Paffett then putting himself at the head of the field over the BMW driver Philipp Eng. And then this from Lukas Sauer on the Mike Rockefeller car. Timo Glock had already gone through, and then Lukas Sauer taking advantage as well and getting very, very close, but all the way around the outside. He took Timo Glock there, and Joel Eriksson too in his chase up towards Eduardo Mortara, and Timo Glock coming back, and the cars were very nearly three abreast. Joel Eriksson having to yield there. There was a huge lock-up to come, as you can see, and Joel Eriksson, great shots from inside the car. This was Marco Wittmann on Philipp Eng. And that has put Marco Wittmann into contention, that's for sure. Let's go back to the live now. And all of a sudden, Marco Wittmann has reduced the gap over the last 3 laps. It's gone, look, from 2.3, 1.8 now to 1.5. So he is within 5/10 of being having DRS available to him. But we are running out of laps because we've only got 2 minutes and 10 seconds plus 1 lap remaining. Gary Paffett is going to be, well, a lesson in how to make your car as wide as possible, I would think, as he tries to defend this P1 position. Here comes Robin Frins on Lukas Sauer. And Lukas Sauer with the switch back here. We've seen him go round the outside, but not able to do it on this occasion. Robin then puts his car ahead of Lukas Sauer, relegating Lukas Sauer to a non-points paying position. So the car's all screaming past the concrete wall then, and here comes Eduardo Mortara on Lukas Sauer now, up the inside, and easy job done for Eduardo Mortara, who I should think at the end of the race will feel pretty hard done by. So Paffett and Wittmann, to be fair, both of them running a bit wide there.
Yes, just looking out of the window from our commentary booth, I could see Philipp Eng also almost touching the grass out of the corner number 9. He was struggling there. He lost a little bit of gap compared to Timo Glock. And we see now Paffett passing the straight line. The gap is 1.7.
He's managing this perfectly, Alex, isn't he?
He's managing the gap. It's 2 laps to go, so the clock needs to go to 0 plus 1 lap. So it's definitely not a good thing for Marco, that as he cannot use the DRS. We see now Paul Di Resta getting on 4th position, Glock, and as we said, Philipp Eng losing also a little bit of a margin compared to Timo Glock, 1.6 seconds, so he will not also be, he won't be either on a DRS window. 1.4, 1.3, maybe on the last lap, Dave?
It's possible, but he's got to get closer, hasn't he? And at the moment, I think the 2 cars are so evenly matched. It's either that or Gary Paffett. Let's be honest, he's a hugely experienced DTM racer. To me, it just looks like he's managing it absolutely perfectly, doing everything he needs to do just to keep himself enough ahead so that Marco Wittmann is not able to challenge him. Marco Wittmann is going to need the DRS assist. Paffett tends not to make mistakes. So over the sector line, it's still 1.5, you see. So Gary Paffett rounds the final sequence of turns then to complete the 3rd and final sector. And when he crosses the timing line, he will have 1 more lap to do. So P1, Gary Paffett, P2, Marco Wittmann. Marco has just got to throw everything at this now to have any hope of wrestling the lead away from Gary Paffett. It'll be his potentially his 2nd victory of the season so far. And as they cross the timing line, the margin between the 2 of them, 1.5 seconds. We're on the last lap. Wittmann has not got DRS available to him. He's got to do it without DRS, and I think that's a big ask, Alex Toril.
Yeah, he's out completely out of the window. We see Marco Wittmann being faster on sector 1, but Gary Paffett being able to answer really good into sector 2 and 3, as we see Philippe N defending right now from Jamie Green. Who is better on the brakes? Philippe N has the inside line. Jamie Green, oh, squeezing a little bit to the outside. Oh, some tap on the rear as Jamie Green get the position done. And Philippe N will need to take care about Mike Rockenfeller, who is also chasing him in on the back.
See, in the past, a little touch like that would have been a race-ending incident for these cars, but now we've lost some of those aero flicks. It doesn't matter so much, and that provides great racing for us now. Jamie Green ahead of Philippe Eng, ahead of Mike Rockenfeller. Rockenfeller on this last lap then trying to reel in Philippe Eng. This is the fight that is going on for P6, 7 and 8, but here is the fight for P1. And Gary Paffett has, in my opinion, managed this absolutely perfectly. The Mercedes-Benz driver then from the UK, driving car number 2, has just got the final sequence of turns to do before he'll turn back on to what was part of the original tri-oval here at Lausitzring out of 13. This is turn 14. He heads towards the checkered flag that will be unfurled, and he will take the second victory of his DTM season so far. Paffett wins from Wittmann, P2. Then it's some time before we see Pascal Wehrlein, who takes the checkered flag now for P3. Some 7 seconds down on Marco Wittmann.
Oh, man, thanks so much.
P4 goes the way of Paul di Resta. Then it's Timo Glock. Jamie Green, the strategy worked because he's in the points. Taking P6 ahead of Philippe Eng, Mike Rockenfeller. Then it will be Robin Frins, with Joel Eriksson crossing the line just ahead of Robin Frins, who rounds out the top 10 points-paying positions. So in the end then, the promise that we thought would come from Marco Wittmann didn't.
No, it was looking really good, really promising, as you were saying, but at the end, as you said, this man managed the gap perfectly, without any mistake, no pressure, and he ended up winning the race. So it's really good days, as the Ulrich was saying at the beginning, the sunshine for Mercedes. So one double race victory for Mercedes Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you very much.
So there, the congratulations all round. And as you were saying there, it would have required a mistake probably from Gary Paffett to allow Marco Wittmann to get close enough, and Gary just tends not to make mistakes. So very good drive from the British driver, who seals, as I said, his second victory in DTM for 2018. That should propel him to the top of the points chart. Toto Wolff then receiving the congratulations all round. Of course, the team very much part of any driver's success, as we have mentioned before. So Gary Paffett, Marco Wittmann and Pascal Wehrlein will be the drivers we see on the podium, and their confirmation that after 34 laps, it's Paffett, Wittmann, Wehrlein, di Resta, Glock, Green, Eng, Rockenfeller, Eriksson and Robin Frins rounds out the top 10. The rest of the order you can see. So Gary Paffett then on the top step of the podium, and super slow-mo then of his car as it makes its way back to the pit lane and the Parc Ferme area. So this, the race-winning overtake then, as he made his way past Philippe Eng and into turn 1. Very early stages of the race, but Gary Paffett knew he had to get past the BMW driver, Philippe Eng, and he did that. And from there on in, never looked like he was going to be in a position to be challenged. We did think it was going to come because the lap time was gradually improving from Marco Wittmann, therefore the gap was reducing between Paffett and Wittmann, but in the end it was not enough, and wasn't going to be enough. So Paffett then pretty delighted inside the car, and the team pretty delighted as well. Your buddy there with the big hair, what's his name, Alex?
It's Spanish buddy Adrian is a really nice mechanic and friend, working since a few years. He's always personality of the
His big hair
of the paddock, since he's working in GT3 and DTM with his big hair and the yellow glasses. Good buddy.
Yeah, no,
good guy.
One of the characters in the garages there, that's for sure. So Marco Wittmann gets out of the car. He gave it his best shot, gave it everything he possibly could, but in the end it was not enough to unseat the British driver. So Marco Wittmann goes over to be weighed, and Pascal Wehrlein completes the 1, 2, 3. So Paffett, Wittmann and Wehrlein. And the door is finally closed, and Gary Paffett can receive congratulations from Marco Wittmann and Pascal Wehrlein, as well as he is weighed. Ollie Kapfenstein there to the left-hand side of your picture, one of the PR team from Mercedes-Benz. We enjoy writing the releases that he has to following that race, that's for sure. So the congratulations are meted out, and quite rightly so. In the Drivers' Championship then, it's actually Timo Glock who leads now by 1 point over Gary Paffett. It could not be closer heading into the next round, which is at Budapest in just a couple of weeks' time. So Glock, Paffett, Wehrlein, the 1, 2, 3 in the points, but right at the top it's 72 points, playing 71. Timo Glock finishing in P5 and banking some very valuable points indeed. And there the celebrations. Great shots of Gary Paffett celebrating. And the drivers will be hustled off to the podium. And the podium celebrations to come. For that, the 4th race in DTM 2018. There, the 1, 2, 3 all together. Gary Paffett, Marco Wittmann, and Pascal Wehrlein. So now the photograph's done and dusted. The drivers will be hustled off up to the podium. Do you ever consider, as a racing driver, Alex, how long you take yapping before going up to the podium? You don't give one moment's good. Is it different? You're like poacher turned gamekeeper, aren't you? You know,
we have definitely
now
no
what it's
rush.
like.
We have no rush. The organizers are always pushing us, like,
yes.
Come on, go up, go up, go up. And we are all enjoying, making pictures, talking to the mechanics, family.
Right. Well, interrupt you there because we're going to talk to the P2 driver, Marco Wittmann.
I've got Marco right here, so congratulations, a fantastic 2nd place, and you've had a lot of podiums in your DTM career, but never here, so are you super excited?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's quite funny to score my first podium in the season at Lausitzring, where I never had a podium so far. No, I have to say, we improved a lot over the weekend, and it's just great, especially at Lausitzring, to score finally a podium. And it was a tough race. I mean, starting from P4, a great fight with Philip, and then I decided myself on the strategy to overrun Pascal to stop a lap later, because actually I was planned on the same lap than him, and that was actually our key to stay in front of him. And then I tried just to make my way to Gary. He was super quick. I think I closed the gap, but at the end was not enough. Could have gone maybe 10 more laps. Would have been maybe interesting.
All right, thank you so much, Marco. And back to you, to the commentator.
Okay, so he reckons he might have needed another 10 laps. Well, Gary Paffett then, some great shots of him celebrating his 2nd victory in 2018 so far. What more can he deliver during the course of this 2018 DTM Championship? The drivers that we're going to see on the podium are Gary Paffett, Marco Wittmann and Pascal Wehrlein. It's P1 for Gary Paffett. And as I said, just a couple of weeks to wait for the next DTM race action in Budapest at the beginning of June. Here is our race winner.
Gary Paffett, congratulations. You've got a big smile on your face. Congratulations, really a fantastic race. And it was the last time, 2013, that you won here. So how do you feel?
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, you just have to take each day as it comes, you know, and today we had a new chance after a disappointing Saturday. When I qualified third, I knew we had a chance to win the race. We had a great car all weekend, and I was aggressive at the start. I got into second when Pascal tried to pass Philip, and then I passed him on the next lap, and that was it. I just pushed hard to get away. After the pit stop, I was quite comfortable. I thought this is going to be fairly easy, but then the last 15 laps, Marco was so quick. He was chasing so hard, and it wasn't a wheel-to-wheel battle, but it was a mental and physical battle to the end. So I'm so happy to get the win.
Super job. Thank you. And off you go onto the podium. Thank you so much. And I'm sure he could get used to this. Back to you.
Well, I think you're right. It's beginning to be habit-forming, isn't it? It's 2 wins so far. There's Philip Eng, who can't help but feel, Alex, he'll go away from today's race feeling a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, when you start on pole, you always want to stay in front. He didn't have the pace. He struggled to find the pace. Maybe the car setup, the temperature rise too much, and he struggled many things, the pressure. But anyway, he did a brilliant weekend. We cannot forget it's his second weekend at the DTM. Already his first podium, his first pole. So it's looking promising for him. He's such a good driver, and I'm really sure he will still give us some other surprises during the season.
I think you're absolutely right. He is a class act, and well, we will see. It's been another learning experience probably for Philip Eng. There is our race winner, Gary Paffett, then making his way to the podium assembly area. And the trophies, I have to say, being presented at Lausitzring this weekend are really rather nice. So in discussion there with Pascal Wehrlein and Marco Wittmann about to join the conversation as well. And those drivers heading off up to the podium, which is just a step away from where we are at the moment in just a moment or so's time. So, as I was saying, beginning of June, we're off to Budapest, the 1st to the 3rd of June. Make sure you don't miss that, because that Hungaroring circuit is another one of the circuits that can deliver some good race action, and we'll see what the DTM can deliver for us over that weekend. So the drivers take on some water, and we await the podium celebrations. And is it like a sense of relief, Alex, when you're behind the podium, waiting for the podium to start? You know you've done the best job possible, and by virtue of the fact you've achieved a podium, you've done well.
Yeah, of course, it's such a moment of joy and happiness, and you know you've done a great race. Okay, sometimes you're standing on the podium and you maybe came from P1 to P3 and you're not feeling that good, but I would say 80% of the time, or 90% of the time, you are so happy. You are gonna get the trophy, the champagne, maybe your national anthem will sound, so it's always special.
Gary Paffett on the top step of the podium then, and Marco Wittmann then on P2. And then for P3, of course, it is Pascal Wehrlein that we will see up there. And there is Pascal. He doesn't have quite as big a hair as the engineer that you mentioned, but he has got a new hairstyle for this season, that's for sure. So congratulations all round. And time for the national anthem to play out for Gary Paffett. So the baseball caps go back on, and it's time for the trophies to be presented. As I said, prepare to be impressed, because I think these trophies are magnificent that the drivers will receive here at Lausitzring this weekend. And there is Mr. Axel Schulz, the former German boxer, presenting the winner's trophy to Gary Paffett. They are good trophies, Alex.
I think they're really good. I think they're brilliant with the circuit layout on top and
contemporary
gold
look to
and
them.
big and
Leopold Prince von Bayern making the next trophy presentation. That, of course, to the team. HWA receiving that. Yeah, they've got a contemporary modern look about them, haven't they?
yeah, it's new. Same like our GR Win trophy. It used to be this glass with a ball we all know, and now this year it's a DTM champion trophy. It's a little bit different.
Konstantin Braun then makes the trophy presentation to Marco Wittmann. So P2 for Marco Wittmann. And Alicia Schmidt, the athlete, making the third place trophy to Pascal Wehrlein. So the drivers will all hustle together now for the photographs. There is a sort of a step behind the podium. You used to see it where all the drivers were trying to hustle onto the top step of the podium, which if you... Oh, a brilliant bottle opening ceremony then from all the drivers as they celebrate there on the podium. Fantastic stuff. So 4 races in. Gary's really getting it there from Marco. So 4 races in then of DTM 2018. And as the trophies and the champagne leaves the podium, the clear-up operation. Those good podium celebrations, definitely. So, as I mentioned, up next in a couple of weeks' time, we're off to Budapest and the Hungaroring circuit. Hello, welcome. Nice to see you here. Hope you've enjoyed the racing as much as we have. 2 more DTM races to come there, and from Budapest we head off to the Lausitzring, that street circuit that delivers such incredible racing. Zandvoort in the dunes, then Brands Hatch as we go back to the UK, the home country of the winner today, Gary Paffett. Then the night racing in Misano, then Nürburgring, Spielberg, and then the grand finale at Hockenheim. So this was Marco Wittmann ensuring that Gary Paffett got an absolute soaking up there on the podium, but it was the soaking he deserved because he won the race in race 2 here at Lausitzring.
What a phenomenal race we saw today. So much race action, fantastic maneuvers. All in all, it really was truly amazing here at the Lausitzring. And we're certainly looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at Budapest. So till then, take care. Can't wait to see you and hear the highlights. Enjoy. Entschuldigung. Danke. Okay, oh Gott. Was für ein fantastisches Rennen. Herzlichen Glückwunsch. Das ist wirklich ein toughes Rennen gewesen und vor allen Dingen, du hast so viele Podiums in deiner DTM-Karriere gehabt, aber noch nie hier. Da musst du dich doch umso glücklicher fühlen.
Ja, ich muss sagen, es fühlt sich fast wie ein Sieg an heute. Vor allem auch, weil der Saisonstart eben so wackelig war, die ersten 3 Rennen für uns. Und dann heute von 4 kommen mit der richtigen Strategie, da auf Platz 2 vorzufahren und dann wirklich den Gary noch unter Druck zu setzen. Auch wenn ich mir wahrscheinlich 5 oder 10 Runden mehr gewünscht hätte. Aber gut, so ist es. Ich glaube, heute können wir mit Platz 2 super zufrieden sein. Und du hast es angesprochen, am Lausitzring in meiner ganzen DTM-Karriere noch kein Podium. Heute war es soweit und das stimmt mich natürlich super happy.
Wurde also höchste Zeit und bestimmt freust du dich genauso wie ich auf Budapest in 2 Wochen. Also in diesem Sinne, bis dann und wir sehen uns in 2 Wochen wieder in Budapest. Tschüss.